That's honestly a flawless list. Now, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Am I tripping? Are there other teams that should have been considered that I'm just escaping in my mind? Maybe let me know. And please, 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 for the love of God, don't bring up some old ass like 1950s Celtics who ran off 11 chips with Bill Russell and like those. Either it was Bob Cousy. I'm not trying to hear that. Like enough. Be quiet.
Stop it.
Welcome back to Cancel Thoughts. It's your boy Better Days here. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. In honor of the NBA season coming up, I'm going to be doing my first ever video on basketball. What most of you guys don't know about me is basketball was my first love. As a matter of fact, now that I think about it, basketball is the only thing I've actually ever been in love with. So today we're going to be going over my top 5 greatest basketball teams of all time. Now, there are a lot of great teams in NBA history, so some guys are going to get left off. That's just the nature of the reality that we're in. So don't crucify me in the comments if you're a super duper basketball fan. It just is what it is. Now, I'm going to do my best here to channel my inner Stephen A. It's going to probably come off a little bit freaky just because this is going to be my first ever basketball video, but we're going to get better as we go on. So, are you ready? Number 5.
Give it to me.
Shaq and Kobe. The Shaq and Kobe Lakers were probably one of the greatest teams of all time just because they three-peated one. And they have two of, in my opinion, the 10 greatest players of all time in Shaq and Kobe at their peaks. Now, some people will say there were other teams that could have won in this. And full disclosure, I went back and forth about this because I wanted to put the Miami Heat here with LeBron and D Wade and Chris Bosh. But the dividing factor for me was Shaq and Kobe three-peated. Miami fell short of three-peating, so I couldn't put them there in that position. Now, moving forward. Number 4, give it to me. All right, the 86 Celtics. The 86 Celtics was led by Mikhail Bird, Robert Parrish, Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge, and I think they had Bill Walton coming off the bench. This team was one of the greatest teams ever assembled just because, simply put, some people will debate whether or not this team should have even been there. They were unathletic, they were white, this, that, and the third. Doesn't matter. They were skilled and they were and they had cohesion and their coaching was pretty great.
Let's go to number 3.
The Showtime Lakers. The Showtime Lakers had the greatest point guard ever, Magic Johnson, Michael Cooper. They also had James Worthy on the wing, and the third greatest player of all time with the only unstoppable move in history, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I mean, do I even need to say more about this? I'm going to, but damn, like that squad right there is just, to me, one of the greatest, most talented teams ever assembled. They had the coaching. They had 2 MVPs. One of them was not really in his prime anymore in Kareem, but listen, they had 2 former MVPs. Kareem obviously had the skyhook, which was unguardable, and they had wings and James Worthy and shooters and Byron Scott who could knock it down. Now, some people say they lost to the Celtics sometimes, but if you go back and look in the 1980s, the Showtime Lakers actually won more chips than the Celtics did, even though the Celtics had a really great team themselves. The Showtime Lakers really dominated that decade of basketball. So, I mean, come on. Moving forward. At number 2, now this is going to be controversial because this team could very easily be number 1, but because I'm younger and I'm newer to the whole sport of basketball and everything, that's why I have them number 2.
Give it to me.
The 96 Bulls. Jordan, the best player ever in most people's eyes, I have him number 2. I got LeBron number 1. That debate's going to be had another day, but they had the second greatest player of all time, in my opinion, the best coach of all time in Phil Jackson, in my opinion, the second greatest Robin, if you want to call it that, in Scottie Pippen, in my opinion, and they had Dennis Rodman, and they had Kukoc off the bench. This team won 72 games. They held the record before I want to say it was the 2015 or 2015. Yeah, I think it was the 15-16 Golden State Warriors took the record for all-time wins. But they did something the Warriors didn't do in that season. They actually won the chip. So that's why I got to have them there, man. I got to have them at number 2. And at number 1, this is going to be debatable. People are going to hate me for it, but I don't give a fuck. Give it to me. It was the 16-17 Golden State Warriors. This Warriors team, yes, it was the first year Kevin Durant got there, not the years after that, because I don't think they were as hungry as the first year that they got there. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, all in their primes, all great defenders. Draymond not as much of an offensive player as he should have been. Well, Steph Curry's not really a great defender either, but they were all in their primes. Peak Steph Curry, I mean apex Kevin Durant, and peak Klay Thompson before all the injuries have derailed his career. We're gonna get into that a little bit later in another video. But this team to me was the greatest team ever assembled. And it's not only just because they were talented individually, but the team that they had to face in the finals to me was probably also one of the greatest teams ever and just failed to crack this list because obviously they couldn't beat the Golden State Warriors, which isn't an indictment, but also they just can't be there if you're not a championship team. The 16-17 Cavaliers who had LeBron at the peak of his powers, Kyrie Irving at the peak of his powers, Kevin Love at the peak of his powers, and a supporting cast that was true cream. This team lost to the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant in 5. Now let's sit there and let's think about this one time really. LeBron in those finals was averaging 34 points a game, 12 rebounds, I believe, and 10 assists a game. He was averaging a triple-double in the finals. And it wasn't like a triple-double that was just like 10, 10, and 10. It was 34, 12, and 10. They lost in 5. Kyrie in that series was averaging 30. I mean, this dude was supremely skilled. Steph Curry, listen, to this day, I will have this argument with people. Steph Curry wanted no parts of Kyrie Irving in these finals. He was averaging 30 on Steph Curry. Our third best player on the team was averaging 17 and 10 and Kevin Love. Double-double in the finals. And we lost in 5. As I said again, that Golden State Warriors team was unstoppable. They couldn't be messed with. I believe they went 16 and 1 in those entire playoffs en route to the championship, the first one of Kevin Durant's career. And come on, like, how can we even debate that this team was as great a team as there ever was in the league? Because, I mean, listen, some people will have the argument that the 96 Bulls should be there, and they'll try to put the, oh, well, this is who would have guarded who and the matchups and all this. Listen, if we're playing, and then they try to even make it about the rules and how the game has changed and all that. Now, listen, we're talking about basketball as it was played in this time. And they're saying, well, you know, Jordan couldn't have been guarded. I would have put Klay on Jordan. Klay wouldn't have stopped Jordan, but he would have done enough to where it would have really come down to who was guarding Steph, which nobody on the Bulls was going to be able to guard Steph. Let's just be 100% honest about that. You're not about to put Ron Harper on Steph Curry. I'm sorry, Steph Curry is going to cook him. I'm sorry. It's just not happening.
Stop it.
Draymond and Dennis Rodman are a wash. It'll probably come down to who's coming off the bench for the Golden State Warriors just because I think Tony Kukoc is a better sixth man than anybody on the Warriors was at that time. But I believe Iguodala was also, while he wasn't even at the peak of his powers with those Warriors team, he was still a really, really great contributing factor off the bench for that team. So listen, that Golden State Warriors team coached by Steve Kerr, come on. Like, I don't even think it's really debatable at that point. Now, listen, you guys can debate me if you want. I really want to hear your thoughts on it in the comments below. So let me know if I'm tripping. And I have to put the honorable mentions here. The teams that could have also been there were, as I said earlier, the 12-13 Miami Heat with what people will coin the greatest version of LeBron that we've ever seen. I disagree with that just because I think the Cleveland championship at the year that they came down 3-1 against the Golden State Warriors, where him and Kyrie had 3 of the greatest games I've ever seen anybody play. I think that's the peak LeBron, if you want to ask me, but that's that. The other honorable mention that I wanted to put there was the Spurs pre-Kawhi Leonard with the big 3, Ginobili off the bench, peak Tim Duncan, the greatest power forward ever in my opinion, and Tony Parker. Even though he was a little bit younger, he was still closer to his prime than I think most people care to realize. So I want to put them there as well. And that's really all. That's really the only teams that I think that could really be even mentioned in this same category. Oh, and one more. Obviously, the team that I said got beaten by the Golden State Warriors in those finals.
Cleveland! This is for you!
LeBron's Cleveland Cavaliers team that came from 3-1 down had added a few extra pieces the year before Kyrie decided to leave. And to me, that's honestly a flawless list. Now, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Am I tripping? Are there other teams that should have been considered that I'm just escaping in my mind? maybe let me know. And please, 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 for the love of God, don't bring up some old ass like 1950s Celtics who ran off 11 chips with Bill Russell and like those. Either it was Bob Cousy. I'm not trying to hear that. Like enough. Be quiet.
Stop it.
Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
If you liked what you heard today, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you didn't like what you heard, thanks for watching the whole video. Consider leaving a comment in the comment section and telling me exactly what you disagreed with. Either way, thanks for joining me on this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.